Hey guys, I'm PM Masher,
And I'm Blacksmith.
and we're here with our weekly Devstream.
Yes.
So we just released Hotfix 6.2
Mhm.
for a lot of the nightmare changes that you guys have requested, so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And talk about a blog post that Haddad just wrote, as well as go over your questions. But before we get into all of that, I'd like to first do some announcements. So guys, if you didn't know, there will be a contest every 10 minutes on the stream, and what we're giving away right now, the last couple weeks, is a really fun accessory code for the Squire.
Boxers.
Oh, well, yeah, there's the Squire boxers. We'll have Butter show this to you guys for a second.
Look at 'em.
So guys, if you type...
They're beautiful.
They're beautiful. He's gorgeous. So if you type in hashtag DD2 when Kat requests it from you guys or when Josh does, then you'll have a chance to be entered to win this awesome accessory code. And in addition to that, guys, please stay tuned until after the stream to watch our Casters Guild, The Social Tavern. This is a fan-made broadcast that we host on our channel, where basically after every stream they kind of review what we talked about. It's kind of like what do they call it? The Talking Dead?
The Talking Dead.
The talk shows after
Yeah.
I think that's what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, so let's get into it. So first, events.
Events.
So this is our last Hero Focus Weekend event. We're going to have some new events coming up in the future after this one. This is our Hero Recap.
Recap, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Kind of like all the weekends that we've been doing so far, there's going to be an increased chance for you guys to earn legendaries. And this time around, however, all the build items for the 4 builds are going to have 3 times the chance on the weapon pieces. So if you've missed out or you need to find a better weapon with better stats, this weekend's probably the weekend to play. And there's that.
Sweet. So yeah, so guys, it's going to be a lot of fun. We know we had a lot of people say, hey, are we going to, after the Nightmare wipe from before, are we going to get a chance to get all of these build items again? They're already in the game, but they're kind of an increased chance to get them. So yes, guys, this is your chance. You'll be able to get all of the build items in the game. New attacks. No?
New attacks?
Not yet. I don't know. Maybe they just like Butter's gameplay style. Cool. All right, so while we're on builds and the hero build weekends, we are having more in the game. You know, there's been a lot of talk on the forums recently about, you know, where the builds are going and kind of where we're taking this stuff. So I think Haddad's going to talk to you guys a little bit about the next couple of builds you're going to get.
Yep. So we kind of rushed out to get the first 4 and see the reception. So far, we like the reception, so we're doing 4 more. Right now, we kind of have a good idea of what the Huntress one's going to be about, and we're kind of halfway through the Squire one. The Huntress one so far, it might change, obviously, but so far it's all going to be about the Poison Dart Tower. It's probably one of the cooler towers, doesn't really get a lot of attention. So once it did when it was super overpowered, but kind of maybe fell off a little bit. It's basically going to be super beefy, and the goal is for the Huntress to kind of start using it as a blockade. And basically it'll start firing super fast and dotting a lot of things in the area. And if one of the targets dies, it'll puff a poisonous cloud around it and add another stack of the poison to the enemies around it, so you can potentially see some cool gameplay around it. Obviously, some things might change, but that's kind of what we're thinking about.
That's the idea for the next build out right now.
Yeah.
So if it's a blockade, does that mean that it's more focused on like short range damage that it's dealing?
It's more focused on sustained damage over time. It's all about having these defenses stay up and hit a lot. And build up stacks and stacks and stacks, and eventually you'll hit that critical point where it's doing a lot of damage over time and basically melting enemies from it.
So do you think we're going to see, instead of the Hardy Harpoon blockades, we're going to see just rows of Poison Dart Towers?
Hopefully a mixture of both. We'll see how it plays out.
Sounds like something I would do.
I actually got the idea while looking at QA's desk. I was passing by, I think, Daniel Gonzalez's desk, and they use cheats sometimes to get past some things. And he had like a line of Poison Dart Towers, super tanky and firing ridiculously fast. I'm like, that's probably
pretty
a build.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So cool. We have a bunch of things. So people are asking about the new animation. So we do have a reveal. We do have a reveal this week, just like we always do every week. And we'll go over that in a second. We actually have a fun one relating to the builds. First, Josh was reminding me for a few cool new announcements as well. So we do have a survey, guys. Josh is posting the link in the comments. Please fill out the survey. We are doing a giveaway that you'll be entered in to win if you fill out the survey for 1,000 gems. And what's the survey about?
Basically all about loot, all about your satisfaction with loot, and just a bunch of questions on that to help guide us in the future.
Well, so these are questions that Haddad, he's our creative director, and Josh kind of put together to help guide some of the future balance changes and system changes that are going into the game. So we'd really appreciate if you guys would take the time to fill it out.
Yep.
And you might get gems.
Yep, maybe.
Cool. So with builds, we want to do a few reveals. So we've talked a lot in the devlogs about how this next patch is about weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be doing the full patch reveal in a couple of weeks, and we'll go over that. But we're going to kind of tease at it. As we go forward, we're going to tease at it a little bit, probably a little more frequently than we have the other patches. So this week we have two cool teases. So the first one is one of the Squire build items, which is going to come soon, which we're going to show you right now.
Really fast?
No, you can just show them.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
So it's a sword and a gun, because I'm not allowed to say it the other way around.
Square Enix is gonna sue us.
But this is one of the cool new weapons he's going to do. It will not shoot. Even though I promised, much to Adam's dismay, I told you all I was going to shoot. It will not shoot. But it is going to do some cool stuff, and it will be part of one of the Squire builds that are coming
It's probably the next build. I can't really talk about what yet, but it's all about potentially having different bullets in the trigger and seeing what happens.
Yeah, so it'll be really cool. We can so that's just a nice little tease. So so there's lots of cool new items coming to the game. We're trying our best. Just can't let it go. We're trying our best to get some really cool things. And then, guys, you also notice in the corner. So we said this next patch is about weapons, and there's a lot of different stuff we're doing. You'll notice that there is a new attack animation for the Squire that is being worked on there, and so that will also have something to do with the weapon stuff that's coming in, which is really exciting, and we'll talk more about in the future. But for now, you can enjoy the nice sneak peek at one of the new Squire animations, which is currently being worked on. Cool. So we're going to get back to builds in a second, but first, if you guys haven't read already, Haddad wrote a really long blog post on our blog today that was kind of to address a lot of people's comments and feedback about the scavenger, about nightmare mode, and about builds. And so we wanted to take the time today to go over that kind of in person, and then have a conversation with you guys, back and forth about it as well. And we also have a little sneak peek at some of the inventory changes that we're going to show you guys.
Yeah, certainly there's kind of a lot to talk about. I'd encourage everyone maybe to check it out. I think Izem just posted it in the comments. There's a lot of stuff, obviously, with the scavenger that we got a lot of feedback on. It's kind of a step one in a multi-step process, and we kind of revealed what the future is. So please go check it out. If you have an issue with the scavenger, if you're worried about your inventory management, read what we said. If you think it's a cool approach, let us know. If you still have some concerns, obviously let us know. The sooner we get your feedback, the better. We talked about like Nightmare, the things that we went through there, why things happened the way they did, and kind of the vision for Nightmare going in the future. What sort of things should you expect from Nightmare 5 onwards, maybe in the future? And obviously just a few tidbits on where we'd like to go with builds and things like that.
So let's take a moment to go through each of those. So for the scavenger, we kind of talk in the blog about how originally the TIB served a lot of functionality, and the scavenger only serves part of that. And kind of the future is us re-putting some of that some of those other features back in, and Haddad revealed what our vision for Inventory 3.0 is, which we're slowly working on. And if you want to go over that quickly now, we'll show a short image of the thing we're working on now.
So to summarize it briefly, the TIB did two functions. It gathered things that fell from the world that you didn't have a chance to collect, and it acted like as a butler that automatically collected stuff that you didn't want to pick up and let you sort through stuff later. The scavenger does half of that. If something falls from the world, it'll automatically pick it up for you, but it doesn't do anything for things that are already on the map. What you're seeing on the screen is kind of our quick mock-up on how we want to fix the other part. And the idea is you'll be able to go to your bags and basically turn on sorting options on the bag. And the first sorting option that we're revealing here in the image is automatically collect. So you can go to a bag and say, hey, I want this bag and that bag and the other bag to automatically collect things for me. And then when the match ends, all the stuff that's on the ground will go into the automatically marked bags. And it kind of functions like the TIB. You don't need to worry about time. Now you kind of need to manage your space a little better. And we'll see how it goes. We have even more plans for maybe different sorting options in the far future, maybe like legendary only sorting option where it only collects legendaries for you, or like hero themed ones like this one's for the Squire and whatnot. And there's some more things we want to do with the inventory, like have fewer but larger bags, and things along those lines. So definitely check it out and let us know what you think.
So yeah, we'd love you guys to comment either here or on the blog post about what you think about Inventory 3.0. It is a work in progress, and the first thing that we are working on is the ability to auto-collect bags, and we hope that this will actually be better than the Tidbin functionality than you had before, as now you don't have a time limit, so you can kind of choose when you want to go over it depending on how much inventory space that you have. Well, so the next thing that we talked about in the blog post was nightmare mode and about the difficulty. I think we can go through really quickly about where we were, where we are now after the hotfix, and where we're going.
So basically when we released kind of Loot and Survive, we focused a lot on the campaign. We put all our efforts into getting the campaign and the early game stuff right. And we did a good job there, but we didn't devote too much attention to Nightmare. Then finally afterwards, we kind of started working more on Nightmare. And our first few attempts, especially because we were doing builds at the same time and trying to balance Nightmare, and builds were kind of ridiculously overpowered initially because we wanted to get them in your hands as quickly as possible. It kind of trivialized Nightmare a lot. So then, we kind of sat back and rebalanced everything. And Collins actually came in from his vacation to help us out. And we released a hotfix that kind of restructured the way Nightmare worked, because after we did all the balance changes, turns out Nightmare was really, really difficult, which was a refreshing change for it being really, really easy. But with our most recent hotfix, I think we finally got Nightmare 1, Nightmare 2, Nightmare 3 in a good enough spot. It shouldn't be grueling. It shouldn't be, like you're banging your head against the wall. It should be a smooth transition from, I have my stats, now I need to think about my passives, I need to think about my heroes, I need to think about the builds that I'm doing. And then eventually when you finalize that and you get that figured out, you jump into Nightmare 4. Nightmare 4 right now is still probably way too difficult, but once we feel really comfortable about 1, 2, and 3, we're going to jump in and do the same thing we did to Nightmare 4.
Cool. So what were some of the Nightmare changes that actually went in with this last hotfix that went live?
We changed the enemy levels so that we kind of smooth the transition in from Nightmare 1 to Nightmare 2 and Nightmare 3. We were kind of testing Nightmare with like full set of legendaries at the required item power, and we were doing a lot of things like that. We then realized that people who are probably starting Nightmare 1 don't necessarily have full legendaries most of the time. They probably have like Powerfuls, Epics, and maybe a bit of Mythics, so we changed that around to expect you to jump in with, items of that classification. We changed also the way the threats work a little bit to make it just a little fairer. We changed the way kind of the enemy distributions as well. Those are a bunch, and we even made a bunch of changes to endgame chests so that they are far more rewarding and give you they kind of guarantee at least in the upper half of the eye power range. So if you finish a map and you feel super fantastic about it, you're going to get multiple items that are guaranteed to be at least in the upper half of the eye power range.
So we have a question here from Rorix who wants to know, it seems like we're talking a lot about the end game. Is there any focus that we're doing right now on the beginning game or mid game? So what do we have to say?
We have some people working on some things when it comes to the kind of the early mid game. There's a lot of work still being done on the economy. We knew the economy kind of was in a weird state way early, and then Jay devoted a lot of time to work on it. Now it's getting into a good enough spot, and we still have some tweaks to do. So we're kind of looking at how much gold you guys earn as you're progressing in the early game and you unlock things, and how that process flows. And we're also looking a lot at the quest system. What quests are not working? What quests are working? What quests are kind of annoying you guys, and we're going to rip some out, maybe add some new ones. And so those are the stuff that we're doing for early and mid game.
And yeah, we'll definitely be looking at free play more in the future too. We kind of just put in the Alpha and Beyond patch the XP bonus system, so we'd love you guys to give some feedback on that and how that is helping you progress through free play quicker. And if you guys still feel the leveling experience in such a slow and free play, then that's definitely something that we're going to look at making better, faster, and more rewarding in the future. Cool. So, sorry guys, catching up on your questions. So, in addition to Nightmare, we also kind of go over builds. And we talked about that a little bit now in the stream, but I know that a lot of you guys have been saying again and again, like, well, there's only 4 options.
Yeah. Well, we can only release so many at a time. We have plans for 4 more right now. We just talked about the Huntress one being all about the Poison Dark Tower and turning it into this fast-firing blockade that causes a lot of poison dots. We have some ideas now for the Squire one as well. We kind of showed the weapon already. So we're going to just keep cranking these things out. And not only that, eventually we're going to look at, because there's a lot of now aggravation where Builds are cool. The game is kind of getting even cooler, but the problem is, it's kind of painful. It's too much of a grind to get the right stats with the right passives all combined together. So we're looking at that now and trying to think of solutions to that. Just give us some time. We'll eventually sort through all these things.
Yep, and like we've said over and over again, it's really a step-by-step process. We're really working towards a future where kind of you play through the campaign, and then that's really where you're kind of getting your bearings, you're learning how to play, you're understanding what a tower defense action game is. You get into free play, that's where you're really starting to kind of mess with the special stats. You see stuff, you realize that there's all these cool possibilities that you're going to be able to do with your hero that is beyond just using the standard defenses. And then you get into endgame, which is where it starts to be slowly become necessary to actually pick your own build. And those are things that we intend in the far future to be things that you guys have actually created with all the tools we've given you. Even though now there's so few where it's obvious, you're like, well, I have to use this combination and this combination. That's because there's 4.
Yeah.
You know, when there's like 4 per hero, then there's obviously a lot more choices. And we're also hoping one of the nice things that this does is it makes it so there are many reasons to have different kinds of different heroes with different sets of gear for different situations that you may enjoy using, as opposed to just a DPS and just a builder.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right, so with that said, I think it's time to go over some questions. So guys, we do have 2 guests today. We have Blacksmith, aka Haddad, and we also have Brad Logston, who's coming on at 5:30. Yeah. So, but for now, we're going to start with some questions. So guys, if you have any questions in the comments, please ask, and we're going to start to go over some of the build-related questions for Haddad. So the first question is, with more passives, are there any plans to make players help hunt those passives? With so many, it's getting difficult to find the right item that you want.
Yeah, we kind of talked a little bit about this already. We added builds. There's now very specific passives that you want with very specific stat combinations, which are cool when they work, but the problem that kind of exposed is obviously it's a little too grindy trying to get the right stats with the right rolls on them combined with the right passives and the right rolls on those. So we're looking at that. Most of the design teams has kind of different ideas or different proposals that we're all talking about internally. Eventually we'll reveal those to you, but we're actively working on it. Some of the things that we're thinking about, again, don't kind of hold them against us. These are still very early on. Like maybe being able to mark certain passives to appear with certain primary and secondary stats. That way, for example, if you have an item that's defense power, you get passives that are all about dealing more damage with your defenses and not maybe being more tanky with defenses and things like that.
Cool. I know we have a lot of people commenting on Butter playing right now and stuff with enemies walking past blockades.
Enemies walking past blockades.
Yeah, it seems that there's maybe a bug where the blockades are not drawing enough.
There might be a bug. There is sometimes if there's a hole.
They're getting... I'm knocking them up and over the blockade most of the time.
Well, if you're knocking them up and over, that'll explain it.
But ogres, yes, or orcs, yes, but not like little goblins. Little goblins do walk past.
Yeah, if there's a small hole that they'll fit through, they'll try to squeeze through. So you got to be careful about that.
Cool. All right. So the next question is also about passives and skill spheres.
All right.
And this one is: are there going to be any new passives and skill spheres for a DPS build? And could you either tell us some of your ideas now, or maybe just brainstorm some crazy ideas?
Brainstorming on the stream would be cool.
Yeah,
we should probably try doing that. We're focusing a lot first on defense because we kind of look at ourselves as more a tower defense game first, and then we think a lot about the DPS. Because you carry a lot of builders with you, you usually carry just one DPS hero with you. We have some cool builds in mind for DPS heroes. There's one about kind of the piercing shot for the Huntress. There's one about the mana bomb. There's one for the seismic slam. There's one for the provoke. It would be cool to kind of see what you all want. Any ideas in the comments, just leave them and we'll kind of talk about
let's
them.
Brainstorm quickly.
Quickly.
Cool. So let's pick a hero.
All right, Butter, what hero?
Oh, Huntress is my
Huntress.
favorite.
Okay, so Huntress. So DPS build for the Huntress.
DPS builds for the Huntress.
It has to have to do with crit, obviously.
Crit, either crit, high crit chance, like a snipe from long range, or poison arrows.
Poison arrows. Well, we could kind of do something where we turn the Huntress to be more themed around her Poison Dark Tower and all about poison. Maybe you combine a bunch of passives to, basically mark a bunch of targets and deal poison damage to them. And then you turn your piercing shot from being a fire bird to being a poison bird, maybe with an Uber or something. And then if that bird kind of hits an enemy that's already poisoned, it does something special and maybe spreads the poison even further. That
you
can
could
potentially be cool.
maybe do something for the oil flask where it sticks to the ground, so it slows enemies walking through it, so you can get the dots for like longer periods. as they walk through it.
Poisonous oil flasks that are
Yeah.
sticky on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's
That's a cool one. So yeah, so there you go, guys. Brainstorming all sorts of cool, DPS builds. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of cool ones, and there's also going to be a lot of cool weapon stuff coming in this next
Soon,
patch,
yeah, you'll
which is
see.
going to make it a lot more fun, maybe, to work on some DPS builds than it would have been before. So here's a question about balance. This question is, why does hero damage have to deal with lane resist? As in, why does a physical hero damage dealer like the Squire have to play against the lane resistances? In solo play, it doesn't work and it makes the game boring.
Yeah, we know about this issue, especially when we kind of started doing Nightmare. We kind of started picking. It's kind of compounded with the fact, or with the issues with the hero deck, where you kind of want to carry as many builders as possible, maybe one DPS hero, and you can't really swap out the DPS hero in the combat phase. So we are aware of that issue. We like the idea of you picking what lane you want to, help and support. Maybe you overbuild certain lanes and you stand and help in one lane. But we're going to have to kind of think a little bit more about that and see what we do about it. But we are aware that that's potentially an issue.
JHM90788-792 IFG says that we should make an Uber that makes a poison tower shoot like an AoE glob.
Nice.
That damages and applies oil.
That's cool.
Cool. Alright, so I hope that was a satisfactory answer for that one. So it's definitely something that we're looking into.
Mhm.
So the next question is about the pet experience. Oh, this is a good one for you. Okay. So the question is about the fact that he has 6 level 50s, and unless he goes into the non-endgame content, he can't possibly hit the max affection levels for pet because they can't gain the affection XP. Because the endgame players don't get XP.
Right.
Does affection only work if you're gaining XP?
Affection, I believe, is more tied to waves completed, if I remember correctly, rather than experience earned. But there's kind of two sides to it. Certainly, kind of experience in endgame, we know, is an issue, especially for accessories. Right, we can talk a little bit about that, and that's kind of also a problem that we're working on solving. Affection, there may be some issues for endgame, especially because completing a wave potentially can get harder later on. So it might be more efficient for you to go do other easier content, which is never fun, which is never great.
Mhm.
So we might be taking a look at affection and trying to make sure that you can go and just play with your pet and get better and better, or more rewarding affection levels the harder the content you're taking on. So that's a potential solution we're looking into.
Cool. So yeah, and I think there's probably going to be more pet balance changes
Yeah.
in the future as well. It's definitely a system that we kind of got in, but we haven't had the full chance to take a look at and affect yet. So guys, for those of you asking what the survey is, so our lovely community manager, I Am Isom, has created with Blacksmith here a great survey for you guys to take about the balance of the game, about towers, and about loot. A lot of it has to do with hotfix 6.2, as well as our recent alpha patch. So if you guys take that, it's posted in the comments below. There's actually a giveaway to win 1,000 gems for just completing the form. I really thank you guys for filling it out and taking the time to look at it. I know it's 35 questions. Takes about 5 minutes to fill it out, but accurate information and filling in some of the suggestion boxes will really help us.
It'll be super
in the
helpful to
future.
help, guide how we develop things or how we tackle future problems. So go ahead and fill them out.
Mm-hmm. So why people still don't like the heavy cannonball tower? What do you have to say about that?
The next fire build is kind of about it, so hopefully they'll fix it.
Okay.
We'll see.
Make
But we should kind of put in the effort so that even if there's not a build, we kind of got that count before when we were talking about the dummy. Even if there's not a build for that tower should still kind of be viable enough. So there's two sides to it. Yes, we're thinking about a build for it, but also we need to make sure that it's still viable without the build.
that the base thing is still fun and interesting to use, not just if you get this item, then it's cool.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, Blaze Balloon sucks. Like, not if you have this item. Oh, cool. Okay, I get it. I guess I gotta go find that item. Cool. All right. So the next question is about, for people with 4 maxed out heroes, how is the permanent XP boost supposed to benefit players? It's not so relevant unless you create more heroes or new heroes come out. Allowing us to be able to switch between a gold boost or a loot boost would instead be a good idea, or something along those lines.
We wanted to add potentially other boosts into that system. where it's not just experience, and especially when you're at endgame and you have all the heroes that you want, you're not really trying to make more heroes. You have all your like level 50 heroes, they're all geared out, they're taking on the end game, and you're not really gaining anything from the boost. We're considering what we can do, especially for that. We have some ideas, like you talked about, a gold boost, maybe like an item find boost or things along those lines. But we wanted, again, most of our focus was kind of early on, getting you to endgame rather than what's happening in endgame. Now we're kind of shifting that around, where we're focusing mostly on what happens in endgame. So maybe you'll see some changes happen there.
So there's a lot of stuff to do. Trade you some of my saved up 2.5k. Okay, cool. So Yaro from the comments wants to know, are you going to reduce the RNG a bit? I've been level 50 for more than 1 week now, and I've been farming Nightmare 1 since the last patch, but I'm still using level 38 boots.
Potentially, yes, we're going to change the way we already did, actually, in our more latest patch. If you complete a map, you're going to be guaranteed an item in at least like 6 or 7 items in the upper half of the eye power range. So that's already in. That should help a bit. We talked a lot about excuse me. We talked a lot about passives and how they combine with regular stats and what we're doing there. So there should be some changes already. So I suggest play it out, see if it feels any different, and if it does, let us know about it. If it doesn't, what is still bugging you, and we'll kind of take it from there.
Cool. We have a question from Rorix, who says, has there ever been any thought of making a solo mode and a team mode? Perhaps to remedy some of the solo play issues, maybe have the solo rewards be good enough to beat Nightmare 4 solo, but not good enough to do group Nightmare 4 solo.
We thought a lot about kind of maybe splitting some things to be group required, some things to be solo required. We don't. The thing that we kind of are talking about mostly is we don't really want you to feel restricted. Like, oh, I'm a solo player, I can only do these, where I really want to do some of the cooler content. The way the game kind of currently works, it's all about what you want to do. If you bring extra players, it should be getting harder. So there is kind of that idea of a group mode versus solo mode. But right now the rewards are very similar. So you might be looking at the rewards as well and doing something to kind of reward group play, maybe potentially more than solo play, or solo play potentially more than group play based on what's going on.
Yeah, and it's one of those really difficult things to balance for us, because obviously we want people to play group play because it's fun to play with your friends. We don't want to force people to do something that they don't want to do, however.
Right.
So it's kind of like a catch-22 about how do we say, hey, if you get your friends into the game to play with them and it's fun, and when your friends aren't there, then play the game and it's still fun. And I think that's a really difficult kind of balance that we're trying to strike. And I know I've seen a couple comments on this recent patch where we made Nightmare easier, where people say, oh, well, now it's easier to do solo play than it is to do 4-player, so why would I do solo play? And that probably just means it's now the same to do solo play as it is to do 4-player.
Right.
But with 4-player, you need to be equally coordinated. You all need to be equally as good. So there's a lot of kind of thoughts in our area where, in order for the perception that they're both the same, that they're both fair to play, where do they have to be in terms of the actual balance?
It is certainly a tricky kind of balancing act. It will eventually kind of nail.
Eventually, in the future. But yeah, it's definitely something we're looking at and constantly working on, because we really want everyone who plays the game to enjoy it. And one of the things that we want to avoid is we don't want, let's say you're a solo player, and you might play with a friend if you have time, but you just really love playing the game. We don't want you to play for 100 hours and get to a point where you're like, well, now I can't make any progress by myself. I have to wait till my friends are online.
We kind of never want to hit that point. We feel it limits the game in a way we don't really want.
So we have another question from Roar, who says, was there any idea of the chest at the end of a map to contain currency? This way, if you play X amount of maps, could be a large number, and you go to a vendor, you could maybe make gear with the stats you choose.
There are some similar kind of crafting ideas that we're thinking about a lot internally. Nothing kind of tied to the end game chest directly as directly as you kind of mentioned, but we do have some ideas on potential crafting systems that we'll eventually talk about, which is very closely tied to some of the issues that we talked about already, like, oh, I want these passives with these stats, and it's getting harder and harder and things like that.
So we have a question from I Am Tonto here. who says, will we be putting, and this is funny, something we talked about like a day ago, will we be putting any restriction on joining games in progress to prevent people from joining a game that's already in the last wave or just ending? It happened to me, I joined and it was already at victory.
Yeah, that's a problem that was happening a lot to you, if I remember correctly. You were bringing it up to us.
Yeah.
There's a small issue with join in progress. If we turn it off, we run into a bunch of issues. If we have it on, we run into this issue. Unfortunately, the current issues are kind of the lesser of the two evils for the time being. We're kind of trying to figure out right now or work through a potential different solution to kind of get rid of both potential issues.
So Magic Control says the gold difference in the endgame chest seems really huge right now. Sometimes he gets 125,000, sometimes he gets 3,000.
There's a bug actually with endgame chest that Chris was telling me about, where if something happens, kind of if a quest completion kind of coincides with you opening a chest, it'll give you a whole lot more gold than it was intending. It was a little weird. We couldn't narrow it down in time for the patch, but it's something we're still actively looking into. But I think that'll explain what's going on there.
So it's a bug. And thank you guys for saying the Squire animation looks awesome. It's really cool. And we'll actually talk about that again in a second. So thanks Haddad for coming on.
Yep.
Guys, please go read his blog post if you haven't already had the opportunity to do so. We'd love to see your comments there.
I didn't get a chance to refresh my water bottle before I walked in here. So if I get raspy in the voice, it's lack of water.
So for those of you who don't know, guys, this is Brad Loxton. He's senior producer on Dungeon Defenders 2.
Hey, everybody.
So to catch you up for a bit, we've done a couple reveals today, and we're going through questions right now. So the first reveal, we can show it again for all the new people who just joined on. We revealed one of the new Squire build weapons that's going to go in the next couple of weeks, and that was the sword that's also a gun.
What?
I'm not going to say it the other way around.
I haven't heard of this
You
one
haven't
yet.
seen it?
No.
Okay, it's totally going to shoot and fire, and I'm just kidding. It's not. I've been told that I'm not allowed to say that by
Don't.
because it's not going to do that.
It's not going to do that.
But it looks really cool.
Okay.
So we've done that, and we also have a reveal on screen where you can watch the animators animate one of the Squire's new animations. We haven't revealed what this is for exactly yet. That's going to be
still
something
haven't.
that we're going to do. We're going to do in the near future. Maybe next week we can give, as part of our reveal, some really cool insight into that.
Oh, it's funny. Everyone remembers. You know what? I actually messed up. I didn't do Fancy Friday again today. I was out for the earlier part of the week. This is actually normal Brad. This is not fancy Brad. Wearing jeans even. But yeah, dang it. See, I keep on forgetting. This is why when I did the Fancy Friday a couple weeks ago, I felt good about remembering, and now I forgot again. And I gotta do Fancy Friday. I'll remember.
Yes, next time.
Yep.
Cool. So those are the two reveals for the week, and then we went over a little bit of Haddad's blog post where we kind of talkk about the scavenger changes that are coming in.
What does everyone think?
We haven't got too many feedback yet, but people seem to like the inventory things. We actually showed them the mock-up of what the auto-collect button would look like.
His mock-up. That was such a designer mock-up. He's
Yeah,
just like,
it's
I took like a hyper yellow,
Yeah.
hyper green color.
I had to crop it out of his lucid charts or whatever tool he uses
man.
to put on. Everyone's gonna spam your Twitter feed for Fancy Friday. And then we went over some of the nightmare changes in 6.2.
Yes.
We have some people that are saying it still seems a little bit difficult. So those are definitely things that we're going to be looking into in the future.
Yeah, Nightmare is tricky. Nightmare is tricky because we want to have something that you guys have a challenge with, and we kind of keep on oscillating back and forth between making it too easy. Everyone's like, all right, I played that patch, I'm on Nightmare 4, woo! And we're going, no, geez. We want you to actually take time to go through that content, enjoy it, and have fun with the challenge. And then we get to the point where we kind of, peel it too far the other direction. And I don't know. It's kind of a good negotiation back and forth on kind of finding that exact right place where the challenge is nice and healthy. And I'm hoping that we're getting really good, intelligent commentary on how we can do that, because that's really the hardest part. And that's one of the good parts about having you guys here with us in early access is how we do that. As we go wider, how do we do that better?
That's actually, I think we even have a meeting after this to kind of look at some of the numbers.
We do. We're going through metrics numbers and kind of looking at completion and fail rates and at different life cycles and trying to figure out the right way of doing that. So.
So we have a question from Quick Whack Whack.
One person says people saying that it's too difficult, don't know how to place defenses. But see, that's one interesting comment, right? Because there is a segment of our community that knows how to play the game a specific way, and there's a segment of our community that doesn't. So is it that we teach them how to play differently, which is a very complicated problem set, or do we make the game a little bit wider in how forgiving it is? I mean, I don't have a right answer for that. I don't think any of us do yet. We're kind of experimenting with things right now, and I know that impacts sometimes you guys a little bit when we experiment one way. We're like, all right, it's too easy here. Try beating that. And everyone goes, oh, we can't beat that. Well, most people do. And now we're trying to figure out the other direction. So.
And then quick whack tax. It's like tongue twister.
Quick.
Yes, his question is
Wiggity,
actually
waggity,
related to. Hold on, scrolling back up to it. Relating to eye power restrictions in Nightmare mode, and that's also a really difficult topic. And it's basically, are we going to add eye power restrictions back in because you can join a match right now and someone else can just join in and try to leech from you. I think that's one of the what is the worst of two evils situations here, where whenever we have restrictions in the game. Players don't like being restricted. They kind of want to play the way they want to play, and it causes a lot of problems. Even if you just want to play solo play and you're able to beat the next map, but you can't with power restrictions. So it's one of those really tricky situations where I think right now we're leaning on the side of we want people to be able to play the way they want to play, and then we want to figure out the other problems later, but the most important thing is the way you want to play instead of maybe putting in a potential blocker to that creates even more problems.
Yeah. It's strange because the instincts in me say, it feels good to progress when you can't do something and then you're able to do it. And it's kind of a rewarding experience. You're like, man, I can't get into Nightmare 2 yet, or I can't get into, Insane Endgame yet, because I need to go do this thing first. But, and granted, there were some problems with the eye power restriction before, so that certainly exacerbated it. But whenever we've done things like that, we end up finding people not so enjoying it. They want to be able to play the game the way they want to play it. And so we end up going wider and introducing new challenges. So that's a really, it's kind of a balancing act, like everything else, when you're trying to do these systems that affect every player. Right now we've been kind of leaning on the side of not restricting and letting people play everywhere. DD1 did that. In DD1, you would unlock everything once you got past that first pass, and you could go play the very end of it if you wanted to. You just get annihilated. Games like Diablo 3 have kind of a grouped block of content that you unlock when you hit certain thresholds, and we've been trying to do that with free play and in-game, and maybe we can take that a step further and explore. Maybe we honestly should sort of, a couple threads about this and see what you guys would like to see. Now that the community is coming back and saying it'd be nice to see, a little more, gating, so to speak. How can we do that where you guys will find it positive? We'd love to hear what we could do that way, because sometimes we hear ideas that we've tried that people didn't like. So, maybe we can collectively come up with a really cool idea of way to do it that people will like.
Cool. So now on to questions. So these are questions from the forums, guys. If you have questions in the comments, please give them to us and we will answer them. So the first question is about matchmaking. It says, is better, faster, stronger matchmaking being worked on currently?
I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't be reading this, but in the bear act like a barricade barbarian?
Yeah, they were talking about they want a barbarian with a bear as a pet because they like the new hero for Dota that announced? Heroes of the Storm. The new hero for Heroes of the Storm.
The Heroes of the Storm. And Brad, you should have never said bear.
I know! That thing, it took us a year. It took 1 year for us to end it internally. Like, it was a year of studiously saying no and then letting it disappear, and then I make one mistake on a Devstream.
What about a Barbaricadian?
Oh,
That's
man.
just combining it all into one.
A barbarian.
Yeah, a barbarian.
A barbarian.
Oh,
That'd actually be a really good name for a hero, I think.
Barbarian.
Just make a barbarian that is a bear. A barbarian. I think that's pretty
Barry
It's
the
just a
Bear
straight up
Master of
bear.
Yeah,
Barbarian.
it's just a bear.
I like it.
A barbarian.
I'm never. It's
I
too
think
late
that'd be
now.
cool.
There's no way to pull it back.
Or even
Barry's
it could be a
defenses.
skin for the squire that's like a bear skin. And it could
Barbarian.
be a barbarian.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really want these questions. It makes me laugh because I go and do that, and then here we are. It's just gonna go forever. So cool. Sorry, let's do the questions then. I'm sorry.
Cool. All right. So the first question is about matchmaking. It's are we working on better, faster, stronger versions of matchmaking, i.e. And then the second follow-up
Better,
question.
faster, stronger, harder.
Yeah, they want all four. And then the other question
See,
is,
you
will
got
we
it.
be able to see what games we are currently available to join?
Right. So I think what you're talking about is, do you have an ability to see where players are playing and to be able to make it easier to join players? We actually have been looking at a couple other games that have quick match type solutions like we do. Games like Diablo and even some MMOs and games like Warframe and other competitors that we've been looking at. And we have some ideas for how we're going to do that better. We think that it's good if you have some visibility on here is where people are playing right now, and if I want to play with others, here's where I go, and help you better make choices in your matchmaking experience. So I believe we're going to hopefully have some of those in for a very, maybe even MSA, the current milestone, maybe even that. But we're going to see where those land because we're still in the design phase of that. What are you laughing at?
They were saying, what about a beard Barian?
Beard barbarian.
No, they didn't combine bear with that one.
Yes.
It's just a beard. But barbarians usually have beards anyways.
Yeah.
So the next butter. So the next question is, will the game have map specific leaderboards, maybe with something like cosmetic rewards, so the best players can weekly try to see who's best? We need some competitive content to keep things engaging.
We completely agree. We talk about this a lot. So this is kind of developer talk for a second.
Man, Butter got a legendary chest.
I can't believe I won.
I can't believe it's okay. The thing about leaderboards is leaderboards require a good score system, and for us, we have kind of a list of things, a list of work that we have to do in order to really get the score system in place. We've done some of it with the feats that you've seen, a little sort of thing that shows up, tells you when you've done something. Feats are things that you can do multiple times in a round to get score events. There's another system we're going to add called badges. Badges are things that you do once in a round, once in a game match, that have magnifiers to your score. It could be things like, finish each wave without your core being damaged, or finish a wave, finish a match without any of your towers dying, finish a map without your hero dying. These kind of like once in a round rewards. And then when you take feats and you take badges and you add a score system on top of it, you get a really unique dynamic scoring system that allows us to make leaderboards a lot more entertaining. We've only done the first step of that, feats. Badges is something that's in our backlog that we're going to try to be doing in the next hopefully a couple months, we'll see. And then after that, we do our score update, and we update our summary screen, which we all love how it looks and functions right now because it's so functional. We will make it functional, and that will allow us to do cool leaderboard ideas. So it's a little ways away because of that that list of changes we need to make, and we haven't really been focusing on it lately because we've been trying to get the difficulty and these new core features in. But that's definitely something we want to do.
So we have a question from the comments from Rorix again. Which is about if there are no wipe or eye power restrictions to join a game, do you think that one half of the community, those who are already 50 at high eye power, will be separated from those who aren't? Alternatively, do you think having so many people at such a high eye power will carry new players and make them miss a large portion of the game? So which do you think will happen without restrictions?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the core of the debate, right? And right now we've been trying to focus on making the content that we create fun and rewarding as you go through it, and making the difficulty gates kind of make sense, so that it doesn't become too over exaggerated. That's one of the reasons why Nightmare was, after this last Nightmare gear rewipe, a little bit harder on the hard side. We were like, okay, we need to go maybe too far on the hard side and then pull it back so we don't have this like cascade effect of everyone just blowing through the content again. But like you guys know, I mean, think about it from our perspective. We watch your guys' pain when we have to do any kind of reset. It doesn't matter how appropriate it may be. It's always difficult because people pour time into it. We run these events for people to get gear. We want them to have a lot of fun. People are enjoying the game. We want them to enjoy the game. We want to have put time into it. But then we talk about potentially doing a wipe, and no matter how we try to make that exciting, it's always going to be a negative. So we're trying to find ways to not do that, and our goal has always been to do new reward loops, new systems that players can enjoy that kind of helps mitigate that pain. So that's definitely something that we're trying to do, and hopefully that it will create maybe a second subset of players for a little while, but then we add new features that everyone can participate in, and that makes that reward keep going.
Cool. All right, so our next question is from the comments. From the forums. This one is
no new wipe again. No new wipe again. Sorry, we're really don't want to do that.
This one is one for me. Oh, thank you, Josh. So what's the best way to spread awareness of this game? Can we make groups to help get a community growth happening? So yes, you guys can. I think that's really one of the big things is, and it's also in Haddad's post he posted today. It's going to be a lot of new people coming in over time. The more people that you can get to come in, and then also that you can help play the game. If you're making someone's experience good when they actually jump into Dungeon Defenders and play, they're going to be a lot more likely to want to play in the future. And then I also think this kind of thing to think about as well is also kind of how you guys take care of new people that enter the Steam forums or enter the community forums. If someone comes into community and things are very overtly negative and stuff, and they don't really want to participate, they don't want to jump in, they don't want to write a post if they feel like they're going to get blasted, or someone who says that, oh, I know everything about this game and you don't, they're not going to want to participate. But
wait a minute, there's no mean people on the internet.
Yeah,
the internet's only full of nice people that are friendly and giving and kind and want everyone to have a good time.
Yeah, but when the community is like nice and open and welcoming to new people, especially when there's like new people coming in, and that's how people make friends. And when people make friends, that's usually what kind of games they stick around in. I know a lot of you who are on the stream right now who are watching are actually here because you've made friends with other people in the community, and that's kind of one of the reasons you stuck around. And so, I really think that is the best way for you guys to bring people in. Additionally, if you guys are friends or you watch any Twitch streamers or YouTube people or people who promote games, and then you can ask them, hey, will you play Dungeon Defenders 2, or I'll play Dungeon Defenders 2 with you. That's also a good way just to get exposure for the game. People like watching people play the game and hearing about the game and having fun.
We really do want to add some better community features down the road that allow you to connect with players more. We've talked about doing things like clans or guilds, but there is nothing really stopping you guys from starting to create those kind of community interactions on your own. I've been back in the older days of gaming, back when I used to play, some of the pre-advanced community feature games, and man, we would just build crazy stuff inside of our forums and using tags in our names and whatnot to show that we were organizations together. I played an RTS where you had to create a new account and put like 2 letters in front of your name to show you what guild you were in or what clan you were in. So I really encourage you guys to find unique ways to kind of help group up, and hopefully, like we were talking before, find ways to help people learn how to play the game and get that experience in a positive way. You help set the tone for what kind of game we're building with the new players that come in, and that can be really rewarding for everybody.
So I have a question from Pimpin Khan from the comments, and this is about the cosmetic chests that drop in the game. He says, I keep opening them, but only accessories come out. Does anything else come out of them, or will they in the future? And so Dungeon Defenders 2, we're only selling cosmetic items that are not do not give gameplay advantage. So there will never be any kind of like loot or a stat thing that comes out of chests like that.
Right.
We have talked about maybe other fun cosmetic or other things that could come out of the chest potentially.
Fireworks, snowballs.
Make it more exciting to open them than just accessories, and there's a lot of talk about that. Potentially even accessories for some of the paid costumes. That would be really cool. So there's a lot of ideas that we're kind of throwing around about that, although it's not really our focus right now. But it will never be kind of something that provides gameplay advantage. Okay, the next question is about the hero deck and builds, and he says, do you think people will be really excited for the next set of 4 builds with the current hero deck in place?
There's a lot of debate going on right now about the hero deck. We still believe that the hero deck as its core design is a good idea. When you're in a public match with other players, having a way to help encourage play in a positive way as opposed to something in going, I have 30 heroes, I can build whatever I want, you guys just sit there. But we have talked about potentially shifting things around for solo play and private play. But we haven't done anything yet. And I've been actually I've been discussing this with a couple of the designers because I've been reading the commentary on the forums about, I have 4 builders and they each are different because I want each of the builds, but then I don't have room for a DPSer. Or what when I get to the point where I have multiple builders and I want to bring in because I have different, hero builds for my builder. And we recognize that there's a fly on my head. We recognize that those are some problems or challenges with the hero deck and how we're evolving it, and we're trying to figure out the best way for us to move forward. I will tell you this, I don't believe the hero deck is going to maintain its current structure in the future. I think it's going to shift and adjust. I don't think we're going to be able to leave it the way it is. How we're going to adjust it, we haven't been able to really narrow it down yet.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think, with the hero deck, one thing that we really like about it is that a lot of players only use one hero, and the hero deck, it may not be, we don't have enough feedback in the game to really expose it to players when they're unlocking the different slots as they go through, but it's better than the first game in terms of players can actually realize, there's something called a hero deck, that means I can play with multiple heroes, and it kind of spreads out a little bit more. On the same token, there's a lot of back and forth internally over, how much is it restricting players and, where we want to end up on that token. And that's one of the really interesting things about this question, is we're going to see when we get the next 4 hero builds in, where exactly how the player base feels about it right now. So it'll be really interesting to see.
It's strange. Someone is saying that they can't log in.
Well, we will investigate it after the Devstream. I'm sure people are looking into it. So on that note, we have another question. This is about endgame.
Okay.
So are you ever going to do non-special mobs in endgame, dropping as much loot as free play mobs do?
I can't speak to exactly what we're going to do with the special mobs in endgame. I know that there have been some... we've been trying to move around the loot tables a little bit in endgame and trying to find the sweet spot for where they're going to be. I do believe, and I could be wrong, but I do believe special enemies are always supposed to drop something. And if they're not, that's probably something that we need to track down and figure out why. But I know that we've also been shifting around loot tables and that we just moved a whole bunch of stuff into victory chests, and they may have balanced some things out. So I think it's just something that we're going to need to figure out, and I don't really have a clear answer on what it should be or shouldn't be doing right now.
Cool. We have a question from the comments, which is about, will we ever let private taverns be customizable or show rewards in it similar to DD1?
Oh man, if this guy gets his way, yes. Yeah, that's something we want to do. I think that some of you guys saw the from Influence Week a while ago. We had done this.
Devlogs.
And from the dev, well,
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm heading, but basically we have something on our schedule to revamp the private tavern, to turn it into something different. And we post on the devlogs too, right?
The social tavern.
Yeah, the social tavern. And when we do that, we want to start trying to find a way to allow you guys to have a space that you can customize. So how we're going to do that, we're not sure. Honestly, from a technical perspective, because of the way our engine works, the way Unreal Engine works, it's actually very challenging. I don't know if you guys ever played, I'm sure, I know you played Fallout 3. And in Fallout 3, when you customize your little room, there were a whole bunch of things where you had to load a template, and if you want to change templates, you had to reload the entire room, and there are only very specific things you could customize. A lot of that is the way Unreal works and kind of the ways that you have to work inside the engine and how it loads assets and how it bakes shadows into things. And in DD1, we kind of did it on the cheap. In a way that was not really scalable for what we're doing in DD2. So we definitely want to do that. There's just some pretty complicated programmatic engine level challenges we have to solve in order to do it. And we're kind of waiting to tackle those until after the new social tavern comes in.
So we do, so guys, if you're getting a Steam authentication error on Dungeon Defenders 2 right now, that's because Steam APIs is having an issue. There's a lot of times where the Steam API will kind of blip or go up and down for 5 minutes or so, usually when they're pushing out their weekly update, or they launched Dota 2 Reborn yesterday, and then there were a lot of ups and downs with the service as well. So unfortunately, because you don't have like a separate Dungeon Defenders 2 account, it just basically uses your Steam account. Steam doesn't need to be working for it to go live. So if you're having issues, please just try restarting Steam and trying again, and you should be able to get in soon. Well, okay, so the next question is about hero builds again. And it's saying, given the increasing complexities of hero-specific builds, is it possible for you to release each build with how you see them interacting? For example, does the Serenity Slow stack with the Freeze stack? Does the Freeze Serenity stack with the other, etc., etc.? I think I'll actually take this one. I think we've been getting a lot of comments for both ways. Some people are saying, hey, we really like to show us how you envision the build work, and we've also been getting a lot of comments saying it's not fun when you show us exactly how you think the build should be played, because we want to create a build on our own. And so I definitely think there's a mixture of how we're going to go forward and present the builds to you. We really do want you to feel like in game where you guys are experimenting with all the different pieces, and really the player base is creating the meta of how these different items are used. And while we create sets of items at a time, we're not going to decide every single combination or use that they have.
That said, I don't think that was his question. Because what he was talking about is, everything Phil said was just true, but he's actually talking about something that we've been talking about in the design team a lot, which is that we're growing the amount of status effects that are in the game, and right now we don't have a very good way to identify which status effects are present and how they work with each other. This is a very similar problem that World of Warcraft had. If all of you guys who played World of Warcraft back in the vanilla days, they started adding all these new status effects, like different ways you could stun. When they added Death Coil in for the warlocks, and when they added the different, they had like different types of fears that each of the different characters could do. And they started doing this consolidation process where they were like, okay, we've added enough elements in now where it gets confusing. Am I being affected by the priest fear? Am I being affected by the warlock fear? What am I being affected by? And it was hard for players to understand which things were happening and how they would cleanse it or deal with it or react to it. And we recognize right now we're doing that exact same problem in early access. We're adding things like different types of freezes. You know, the freeze that happens from your skill sphere, and they have a freeze that happens from a special stat, and are they the same one? Technically, actually, they're not. They're different ones in the way they're set up in data. With the things like how you boost your character's damage output via some kind of buff that it plays on your character, whether it be from the boost aura or whatever it may be. So we do recognize that that's a challenge right now that we need to fix. And the communication for which ones are layering and which ones are not is not very clean. How we're going to do that is a little bit tricky because we don't want to just do a sea of icons. You know, we want to make it a lot more immersive in our world, and that becomes really challenging to do. But we definitely are talking about that pretty heavily, because actually Dan was bringing this up almost a month ago, where he's like, if we start adding these builds, we have all these new effects, and then it could be getting a little overwhelming. So those are definitely something that we're going to help layer on later on down the road. Phil's also really correct in that we want you guys to discover this stuff too. So when it comes to how the gameplay works, discovering that's going to be a lot of fun.
So our next question is about enemy health bars. And can we ever get the option to see them all the time instead of only when you're scrolling over a target?
Yes. We could certainly have that option. Yeah, I think that there was some hesitation. We talked about that a while ago, and there was some hesitation because we didn't want it to be a sea of health bars. We wanted you to be able to enjoy the art in the game and kind of really get immersed in the environment. But that is certainly an option we could explore adding back in.
Phoenix XX says, "Can we get new bag icons?"
We would love to add more bag icons. That's a very good idea.
We should do that.
We could put them in a lockbox. If I remember correctly,
right. We talked about that.
The original design for the lockboxes back almost a year plus ago was to put things like, we called them bag stickers. We put bag stickers into lockboxes too.
So cool. So we have another question about some kind of party list function. Do we have any plans to do that?
Party list function. What do they mean?
I'm not sure.
We've iterated a little bit on the party interface, and we've tried to do some iconization to communicate better who is in your what we call team, or who's in your session with you right now, versus who's in your party, because the people in your party share different rules than the people that you're just playing with. We probably aren't doing that as well as we could. It's kind of challenging again because sometimes it's a little bit hard to communicate those different states for a player that doesn't really understand the complexities. Microsoft struggled with this a lot when they started doing live parties versus in-game parties, and Sony has had a lot of problems with the PS3 with it, which is one of the reasons why they pulled it into the high level, system level, so that you didn't have that confusion. So we're still trying to figure out our best way to do it. Maybe it'd be a terminology change or something, but as far as how you visualize that, some of that party list stuff should already be there. If you maybe give more details on what you're asking for, that can maybe help out answer the question better.
Afrin, welcome to the stream. We have a fun question here. What do you think about the Pokemon Go announcement? This is from Joa Sioka.
Oh, I missed the Pokemon Go announcement.
Didn't see the Pokemon Go
No.
announcement? It's the
Well, I mean,
new
come on. I was
Nintendo-
gone for like 5 days. I haven't
mobile
catched
game.
up.
It's like the.
Oh wait, is this the one that's being built by
Yeah.
The
the Google company?
No. Oh.
It's like the alternate reality.
Yes. Okay.
It's interesting, it's funny because I lived in Japan for a while, and they actually had something in Japan for a long time. But what they would do is they would put not the barcodes, but you know what those what are they called? They would put barcodes up around everywhere. QR codes, exactly. And then people would play with their phones. They would be able to capture on the web app or whatever the Pokemon. Kids would play it all over the place. So that's answering.
Yeah, I get it now. I am Tonto. That's a really good idea. We don't have anything in the lineup right now for being able to see parties or groups that are doing certain things, and I like that idea a lot. One of the challenges we have, though, is that a lot of this work is being done by the same group of people. And one of the things we've talked about adding in that kind of facilitates what you're talking about there is a little more granularity when you're doing matchmaking to be in a session of the type that you want to play. So imagine you can go into your matchmaking queue and say, hey, you know what? I want to be in a session where I am just being a DPSer and I'm not going to build anything and just kind of hang out. or I want to be in a session where I'm the builder and they're giving me mana. Or I want to be in a session where I'm playing the squire that has this kind of setup, whatever it may be. Like adding different options when you're matchmaking to identify what you want to do and what kind of players you want to be grouped into. We've been talking about going so far as having, like some of the random ideas we talked about is having a slot system where it's like, okay, I want to play a match where I'm playing this role, or my hero deck, I play these kind of roles and this person plays those kind of roles. That is a little bit... It serves a similar purpose to being able to see a list of parties and trying to figure out what they're doing and communicating with them. But it allows you to do it a little bit faster. It's kind of like the group finders and some MMOs where you can identify which role you want to play. And we don't want to go that far, but it may be something that kind of scratches the same itch of wanting to be able to identify who is doing the things that you want to do or who is doing something that you may want to participate in as a certain type. But those two things are not necessarily. I mean, we can do either or. I'm not sure which one sounds more attractive. Adding more depth into the Twitch match system, or adding an ability to see a huge list of parties or groups that you then need to find a way to communicate with them and ask what they're doing. That's a good question, though.
Cool. So thanks, guys, for watching the stream. We're gonna have more.
Oh yeah, so you like that better, Tonto? That's cool. I think so too. I think that's a more robust way. That's why, and Blizzard's smart. I mean, Blizzard goes down those directions because they have huge player bases and they need to find a way to navigate it more effectively, as opposed to giving me a list of 10,000 groups and I have to figure out who in the world is doing what. But yeah, we'll have that conversation as we get closer.
Perfect. Thanks, guys, for watching the stream.
No, is it over?
Yeah, it's over already.
No lightning round?
No, there's no lightning round this week. But we do want to say, guys, thanks. This was
I don't
actually
like the lightning round. Can we make up a lightning round?
But this was actually our largest influence vote so far. Thanks, you guys. We did have the objective defense win. So congratulations, objective defense. It looks like we will not be fixing that bug, which is cool. So thanks, you guys, for voting. Hopefully we'll have another influence vote for you guys soon. Have a great weekend. Stay tuned next week for a bigger reveal. I think we might have a video for you guys next week for the next patch. Stay tuned, guys.
All right, take care.